necessarily give me. I know he don't be caring because I be saying like, you don't even care what I'm talking about. He be like, I'm listening. I'm like, whatever. I just need to get it off my chest anyway. Anyway, what you doing? I'm working, Kendra. I'm like, I'm like, you think about doing it with me? And then he be like, get off the phone. Like, I be so random. One day I called him and I was like, what you little black stuff doing down there? He cracking. I'm like, he said, you're so random.
Welcome back to Thoughts in a Glass podcast. I'm LaToya.
And I'm Kendra.
And this is a weekly podcast where we share our unfiltered thoughts on a variety of topics.
So sit back, grab your drink, and join us on a journey of real, raw, and super funny commentary.
So every week we do a drink of the night. So Kendra, what's our drink tonight?
So last week we did a tasting of Sir Davis. And so this week, since we still had some before I took it home, we've decided to do an old fashioned with Sir Davis. Super easy to make. I think we've made this before. You're just going to do, in a glass, you're going to muddle together. It just depends on how much you want, but you're going to do sugar, and then 3 dashes, boop, 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 of your bitters. Muddle that together, and then add your old fashioned and some ice, swirl it, put it in your glass. Oh, sorry. Yeah, whiskey. Thank you. Swirl it, and then you're just going to garnish it with cherries. I like that with that. I feel like you can have it either way. You can have it straight up, or you can, have it with this. I know someone else had it with, and did it with ginger beer.
Ooh, I would
with
probably
some
like
lime.
that. I probably like that. I think she had some different cocktails.
Yeah, that you could make with it.
That you could do with it.
I
Yeah.
have to get on the website and see. But yes.
So what have you been watching?
Girl, okay. So I told you I was binge watching Chicago Fire.
No, you didn't, but okay.
So I binge watched Chicago Fire.
Okay.
Loved it.
Okay.
And so now I'm caught up, so now I'm mad because I'm now caught up. Binge watched on the cruise, and then when I got home, Bosch.
Oh, really?
I love Bosch.
Really?
And Ellie talked about how good it was, and I was like, she always talking stuff. I never watched it when it was the height. So I watched all of the Bosches, and so now I'm caught up. So then I'm on Peacock, and I'm like, what am I going to watch? So I saw this show. Let me get the guy's name. Hold on. So it's with Jesse L. Martin.
Oh, yeah, I've seen him around.
It's called The Irrational.
What's it about?
Okay. So he is a psychologist that bases his studies in people's behavior. So he's a behavioral psychologist, and he goes into like how people rationalize and like do things, like so when criminals do things irrationally. So that's what he's bases his stuff on. So they call him in for the premise of this show, he in his youth when he was in college was in a really bad bombing. So he has 13 people died. He was the only survivor. And he has like burns all over himself. So it's like this is what kind of got him into this being his field of like, why do people do the things that they do, like evil things. So he is a professor, but the FBI uses him. Different people like use him to, like when people like have gotten murdered or things like that, like why would they make this decision, this, that, and the fourth? Because a lot of times police officers will be like, oh, that person said he did it.
Right.
So okay, so spoiler alert. So in the one of the episodes, it's this kid who like says that he committed murder and murdered his ex-girlfriend, and was like, this is what happened. But in his story of what happened, he kept saying, and one thing led to another, and one thing led to another, right? And so he was saying when people say that, either they don't remember what happened, They just remember that next point. So they know something had to have happened for them to get to the point, but they don't
fully remember
the details. So they don't. They say it's like, oh, so I did this, and then one thing that led to another. You can use that when it's like all that stuff doesn't mean anything, or if you don't remember those things, right? Or if you're telling a story that somebody told you, right? So you'll be like, we're talking, and she's like, so she done told. So one thing that's another of what she was saying, because that part you probably weren't even paying attention, but then you heard, and then he got a baby, right. So he kept saying this, and so he was like, I don't think he did it. Now the police were like, he said he did it. We're done with this. Who else would have done it? So they find out that the young lady had like a stalker, and it's that and the full. She was in AA. That's how they actually met in AA. And what ended up happening is his actual sponsor was the one that killed her. And what he did is put something in like his drink. So he thought he was drunk. He spiked his water. So, and it made like told him the story while he was like kind of incoherent. So he believed in his heightened dream state that this happened and left the bloody shirt with him. So he really just thought, like, that's why he never got like full detail, because he was like, yeah, we argued, and then one thing led to another, and then I had the gun in my hand, and it was kind of like there's more that had to have happened, kind of thing. But it's because he was not really there. Someone told him a story,
right?
So it's basically based on like trying to break down like people's mental state and stuff like that. My guy, I can't think of his name. Theo Huxtable.
Okay, yeah.
He made a cameo. I said, oh, he's so fine. So anyway, so it's on season 2. They just started season 2, so I'm watching that. And so I'm also watching. So when I was watching, so I started watching Chicago Fire because of TikTok, and it was an episode that I really wanted to finish. Like I saw like basically like it was a lot of like clips on it, but it never gave you the full episode. I was like, I really want to see it, so I found out I saw it had it on Peacock. So I started at season 3. So I haven't done like 1 and 2. And I was like, am I gonna go? Like now that I know like what has happened,
oh, you should go back.
I'm like,
especially because you caught up and it's like it's over now. You can like go back.
I know. So I'm watching now. So during Chicago Fire, they merged with Chicago PD and MD.
Okay.
So I'm like, now Chicago Fire only had 7 seasons. It's on season 8.
Okay.
Right? Something like that. Maybe I'm lying. But Chicago PD has 12 seasons.
I would really love to, and I can probably find it on TikTok, but I would really love to like listen to a deep dive as to like why people love TV shows like that so much. Because it kind of reminds me of ER, kind of reminds me of Grey's Anatomy.
Yeah.
Those shows that like, it's kind of the same blueprint, and they are so popular that they could have season after season after season. And I think kind of the partial answer to that question is it's pretty much just a more high-end soap opera. It
is. And it gives you a little bit of action.
Yeah.
Right? So if you need something like, so I'm slowly going to get to Chicago PD. The only thing that's like gives me the hesitation is because I know that it's going to deal with like children passing away, stuff like that, and that's like a trigger for me. So I just be like, not so much. But and the same thing, that's why I'm kind of hesitant on Chicago PD too, because though like the real life things, like with Chicago Fire, you're dealing with like somebody's house, and you get to see like some of the medical stuff or the PD stuff. You get like a glimpse of, oh, this person didn't make it, but you don't go into the deep dive of what the doctors are feeling and going through and stuff like that. So I appreciate that. But I also was watching the one that he was in, Theo Huxtable.
Is that Malcolm Jamal?
Yes, it is. He was in a show that I used to watch. I don't even think it comes on anymore. But it was basically the same concept as the ERs and stuff like that. But it was a good show. But yes, I was watching that. So I definitely recommend Chicago Fire, especially it's bingeable. I recommend Bosch because now they have Bosch Legacy.
And who is that about?
So it's him, but at the end, so there's a reason why he has a new thing.
Oh, okay. Something
right?
happens.
Something happens in Bosch, so you have to watch Bosch. So that's Bosch Legacy. And then the Irrational is a yes. And then I'm finished up. I only like to watch stuff that has like a couple seasons in it to let me, because I don't want to. It takes me more than 2 episodes, but I have to wait a week. I'm out.
Yeah,
I need something that's going to give me. So if I get a full season, I'm all for that. So yeah, that's what I'm watching. So what are you reading? Because I know you won't be watching.
Yeah, I was just getting ready to say I haven't really been watching anything, but actually no. So I am watching. Okay. Y'all know I love Theo James, and so I saw on Amazon Prime one of his old shows, but I had never seen it before because it was a UK show. It's called Bedlam, and it's an old show, but it kind of reminds me of Supernatural. So I started watching it just to see him. And it's like the younger version of him too. So like still when he kind of looks like how he did in Divergent when he was playing for.
Ooh,
so
he was fine.
But he's fine too. Like did you watch The Gentleman?
No.
That was on Netflix. That was the most recent thing he did. He did look good in that too. Like
he's a fine character.
I just love him.
I
just love him. So anyway, I started watching that just because he was in it, and I just was like, oh, that's my boo. I want to watch it. I watched girl, the thing with the man with the green eyes that everybody was saying it was no plot. They just watched it for him. Rebel Ridge.
Oh,
yeah. I thought it was a good movie.
Okay.
I was locked in. You would like it.
Okay. I have to watch it.
Yeah, I was locked in. I thought it was a good movie. I thought it had a good plot. A lot of people was like, oh, this movie was boring. It had no plot. I don't know what happened. I was just watching it, for the fine-ass main character. I mean, yes, also that. But it had a good plot. I thought it was good.
Okay, so Rebel Ridge.
Yeah, Rebel Ridge. Okay. That I watched that. That was good. And what else am I watching? I'm watching Lincoln Lawyer, but like that's like background noise for me. Like I'm watching it, but like it's a show that I can have on while I'm cooking.
Are you going? I think because I watched last season.
Lincoln Lawyer.
No.
What?
Is that the one with Morris Chestnut in there?
No, that's
Reasonable Doubt.
Reasonable Doubt.
Are you gonna watch?
I don't know. I'm gonna take my time with it. I watched the first season. And it was cute, but it kind of got slow. Yeah. For me, a lot of people are saying this second season is really good, but I heard that Hulu canceled it, so it's not coming back. So I'm taking my time because I know it's canceled, and I'm also hesitant to watch it because I'm like, if the second season was so good, why did it get canceled? Yeah. So I'm kind of like on the fence about it, but I'll. It's going to be one of those shows that, like, when I don't have anything else to watch, I'll be like, let me check this out. Yeah. And then the last show that I'm not actually watching, but I do want to talk about it. So, y'all don't give me any spoilers. I'm trying to wait. But did you watch From? You may not like it because it's kind of scary.
Well, then I'm not getting into it.
It's kind of scary.
I'm not getting in it.
It's so good, though. It's so good. It's so good. But I haven't watched...
I'm out.
I haven't watched this newest season of From. And I know y'all gonna eat me up for this. It's because I don't want to pay for MGM Plus. Period. I'm just gonna say that I don't want to pay for it. So what I'm trying to do is wait a little bit for a few more... Because I think last time I checked, only 3 or maybe 4 episodes were out already. So I'm trying to wait for a few more episodes to come out. I'll buy MGM Plus for maybe a month or 2 just to get caught up on that. And then I'm canceling it because...
I've seen the trailers for that. Don't ring the bell to go in the house. You ain't got to worry about me. I'm out.
It's so good, though. It's good. So, from now, what I'm reading, we just read a book club. We just did The Good Daughter by Katherine Slaughter. Okay. I don't recommend. And not because it's not a good book. Katherine Slaughter is a great author in her writing. If you're looking for something that is written really well, and it's like almost like she writes. To me, this is just my personal opinion. She writes, and I can kind of visualize the book like a movie. So the writing, my opinion, is great. You know, it's up there. The content, the topics are trigger warning, trigger warning, trigger warning. I mean, she tackled so many different things in one book that honestly, I literally read like a little like rom-com afterwards just to kind of like regulate my emotions, because it was a lot of, I mean, essay, great child death, school shooting. No. It was just so much. It was just so much, like, you know, and then the typical like murder, different things like that. But like the first chapter, spoiler alert, the first chapter, one of the very first scenes, we have our main characters witnessing their mom getting her shot in, like her head blown off with a shotgun. And they're like 13 and 15 years old when this happens. And so it just goes downhill from there.
Clearly. I mean, that's a hell of a starting point.
So I think because we was saying like for the month of October, we wanted to do like, you know, something that was maybe more of a psychological thriller or something that was more in the, you know, horror thriller genre. And so, and when in book club, when we read these books, like we read the back of the book to kind of get a synopsis, but we don't really know what we're getting into for real. And it did have a lot of trigger warnings in the beginning, but I'm so naive. I thought that like, oh, they'll probably like graze over these topics. Girl, they was getting
to the nitty of the gritty.
So I don't recommend it for that reason. I just don't feel like we have to have a front row seat to all of that trauma. So, but that was the book I read. Katherine Slaughter as an author, I would read her again. I'll just have to check before I read one of her books, like, is it going to be like that? Because that to me was a little much. And then in my other book club, we were reading the dark romance, Haunting Adaline, and it was hard. It was a hard transition for me because after just reading The Good Daughter and trying to read Haunting Adaline, my perspective was very skewed. Like in the dark romance, things are happening, but you know, the girl likes it. So it's like, it was hard for me to just read about like rough sex and things like that after having just read somebody get assaulted. So that's why I had to read like my little rom-com in the middle to like bring me back down again. Cause that was crazy. And Haunting Adaline, I'm still working on it. I haven't finished it, but I think I'm just coming to the grips with the fact that I'm not a dark romance girly. And like, as much as I say, like, I don't really care for urban fiction, I think what you were saying about ethic, like, I don't like urban fiction when it's just like, I think what I'm coming to the grips with is that I don't really like a lot of trauma in my books. Like, all of that.
Yeah, everything don't gotta be traumatic.
Yeah.
Like, there are some times where you could just be happy and...
Or, like, we deal with so much. Yeah. Why do we have to have, like, you know, killing and assaulting and all of that? Why do we have to have all of that? We deal with so much.
We see that every day.
Yeah. Just have a little, like, father abandon their child. You know what I'm saying? Your typical run-of-the-mill... I grew up in the house without one of my parents, and I'm dealing with that. Like,
give me some normalcy.
Yeah, like, why do we gotta make it so? But anyway, so yeah, so that's what we're reading and watching.
Cool. All right, so we talk about of course a plethora of things, and I know last week we just did a lot of catching up and things that have come across the board as we've been gone. So instead of talking about like pop culture and what's going on, let's do something a little different. Let's talk. This is like, we're not getting spooky because I don't do spooky. We do mythy though.
And it's October too. We probably should have did something a little bit more like, I don't know.
Probably not.
Because you wouldn't have fucked with it.
I don't do that.
We can save it for for next week because we still have. Okay, we'll save it.
We'll
for
do
next
Halloween.
Week.
We'll do it on
we'll
like
do a Halloween episode.
Oh God, am I dressing up? I'm dressing up. I gotta remind myself to dress up.
Are you gonna dress up? I'm glad we're talking about this because I didn't plan on it.
I might do a little face.
Okay, all right.
Maybe. Anyway. Okay, so we're both in. Are we both in relationship?
You gonna stop doing that? You gonna stop doing that?
We're both in ships. What the front end is? Who knows? Oh, cracks myself up. Anyway. All right, so what are some... Okay, I'm going to ask you the first question. In your relationship, what are some myths that you thought were... Like, what are some myths that you heard around, like, young marriage, black marriage, black relationships that were, and how did they make you feel? Like, going into this relationship.
Like, what was some of the myths I heard, and then, like, how did I feel after I realized it was a myth?
Like just
or
the myths, when someone told you myths, like, was it like if someone said, being married like that first 7 years, like, so in your mind did you think, all right, so that first
like,
7,
did I believe it?
Yes, like that first 7 years is going to be this, so I need to do this, I need to do this, and I need to do this. And then I'm going to ask you, after you went into it and like the first 2 years none of that happened, was it like, now this am I like, are you like, am I exception?
Yeah. Myths. I think some of the myths that I believed going into it was that if you love your partner, and if you just put them first, like, it was a lot of like cliche antidotes to real deep-seated challenges that I believe. I really believe that, like, no, even though we have our differences, like, if we love each other, then
that should be enough.
Yeah, like, it won't, like, we'll do whatever it takes. So, like, it, we have that love is there. So you're gonna go out of your way for a person you love, or you're gonna do this for a person you love. Like, to me, I think that was the main myth that I kind of thought that, like, no, like, that's why you get married, because you feel like I can go through whatever with a person, and like, we have that love. So, like, granted, this is coming from a place of, like, you ain't really been through no challenges for real. Like, you think you've been through challenges, but you ain't really been through no challenges. And so, having not really gone through any challenges, I think it was also easy for me to have that mindset of, like, oh, we'll be able to get, like, whatever the situation is, we'll be able to get through it. Like, I remember even saying, like, I really can't think of anything that, we wouldn't be able to overcome. Like, in my mind, when I said that, I kind of thought about, like, oh, it may be hard, but it won't be impossible. And I still do kind of think that to a certain extent, but I think that only works if both people feel like that. You can work a 12-hour day and be like, okay, I can work a 12-hour day because I, have my stuff organized. I know what I need to do. I've set myself up. I can work. But I can be like, well, I can only work 8 hours. So if what we need to do takes that extra 4 hours and I can't do it, well, you know what I'm saying? Like, you working the other 4 hours by yourself.
Right. You're making a sacrifice. And you're losing something while the other person, you're losing that time that you'll never get back. And that other person is gaining it.
So we may go into it, we working on a project together. Yeah. We may both go into it feeling like we're going to put in all we got. And after 8 hours, I'm like, all right,
I don't want to give all of it because
and you like, well, no, we can keep pushing. Like, I got 4 more hours left. I think that was the part that I didn't stand. Like, everybody have different levels of effort. And so while you may say, well, it's nothing that we can't overcome, that's based on your level of effort. Somebody else's level, or this other person, their level of effort may be different.
Right.
And so while they may also feel like there's nothing we can overcome, when we get to the end of our rope of, like, putting in the work or putting in the effort, the end of their rope may be shorter than yours.
Right.
And so I guess I didn't feel no type of way about the myth itself, because I chose to believe that. So I didn't feel any type of way about the myth itself, but I did. It was definitely eye-opening when I realized like, that belief that you're hanging on to, that like, oh, we can overcome anything, there's some caveats to that. And so it doesn't now become a blanket statement of we can overcome anything. It becomes, well, we can overcome things that fall within a bracket that we both feel like we can handle. But if it's something outside of that realm of what we feel like we can handle, we may not be able to overcome it. We can try, but like,
who knows?
Who knows? So I would say for me that was probably the biggest myth.
I think for me, mine's is that one that love will carry you through, and I feel like you still got the person, and then.
But even like, sometimes don't carry you through. Like love you and like you and still not agree with some of the stuff you're doing.
Right. I think that myth and reality, it takes two to do everything. I felt like the myth of if you do everything that you're supposed to do, he's not going to, right? And you can do the list. He's not going to leave. He's going to be he's going to be this. Must be something that you're not doing of why he's doing such and such. When that's what we'll go into the realities. I do have, for me, the myth that having multiple children, you won't find anybody of quality. And so you should lower your standards.
Wow.
And then just the run-of-the-mill things that, oh, your relationship should follow this pattern for it to be successful. Those things. And I think that the realities of it is like, if he's going to cheat, and it's just that ain't got nothing to do with you, because people can discuss, right? Like, if you're not happy, let's have a conversation. If you want to leave, if you're not happy or not being fulfilled, I would, before you decide to step out, say that and be like, I'm in a space where I need this to be done. You're not doing it, and I'm in a mindset that I feel like I'm going to do this, and I don't want to do this. So we need to have a conversation. Being truthful in your feelings, and I don't think people want to be truthful, so they just like, I need this. And then when you don't give it, then like, oh, I've done this. Well, before you've done this, why don't you say, I've asked you for this, and I have, my mindset is where I want to cheat, and I don't want to go against whatever vows. I don't want to even hurt you, but I'm being selfish in the face of, I need something that you're not willing to give me. And then when you have that conversation, and if that person's like, I don't care, at that point, I could not be mad. I feel like you still should be like, well, because you can still love that person, want to be with that person. They have all of the things. But then you have to understand, also, is it the 80-20, where you're getting 80% and you're like, I just want 20 and I'm just going to go get 20? Or are you in a situation where you're getting 40 and you're missing out on the 60? Yeah. And the 40 is something that you really, 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 really love. But that 60 is something that is going to carry you through the years. That 40 may help you for the next 10, 15, but you really need that 60 to push you through. Or is it only 50-50? You only getting this 50% and you need some more. You need to say that love ain't enough for nothing. It's nothing, right? Even with your kids, love ain't enough. But sometimes it's nothing else, no more or less that somebody can do. If that person wants you, they want you. And I saw on TikTok, this guy said, and it was so profound, and we was having a conversation last night just about like, the awkwardness of have been in a long-term relationship and then being intimate with someone new after that. And is it like, weird? Yeah. And is it like, because I was like, was it weird? When we first started getting it, like, was it weird? And he was like, nah. And he was like, I guess it might have been. Because it's just like, either you're not doing anything for an extended amount of time because you would prefer to be in a relationship, or you're doing stuff and it's not awkward because you've been doing stuff with random people and it's not a big to do. And so we were having that conversation. But part of the other thing I was talking about was this lady said on Instagram, this guy was talking to another guy, and he was like one of the reasons why he was like didn't want to get married. And so he's like, well, what if I'm out here and I meet somebody and we click and she has all these attributes and all the things? And so his wife was like, that's definitely going to happen. And so he was like, what? And she's like, I'm not the only person that is going to make you like, you know, like that you want, that you're going to connect with or find attractive or all the things. She said, but it's for you to choose me every day. And part of that is, and it reminds me, like, my example for him was, it's like somebody that has a goal of, so if your goal is a lifetime with this person, there are some things you're not going to have.
Mm-hmm.
So if my goal is to be fit for the rest of my life, there are certain ice creams and Cinnabons and things that I'm not going to be able to have, but I have to choose to eat salmon and rice and broccoli every day because there's an ultimate goal.
Right.
And these things might be nice for a minute, but I'm gonna have 2 steak and cheeses, and then my belly gonna be feeling little ways.
Mm-hmm.
And now somebody else cooked it or somebody else did something, and now I got food poisoning.
Yeah.
Where if I had just fixed the stuff that I had at home and I know what's in it and I know what I'm doing and I already know all the things, I wouldn't be in this situation. Mm-hmm. And I think that comes to when people end up, now you're in a situation where you got a stalker because you don't went outside somewhere that you ain't had no business, but because it looked good, it's like, that's what I want, and it's not necessary.
I think it's more than just because it looks good, and I'm not justifying like cheating in any way, but I think that what happens is, like you were saying, you get comfortable in your relationship, right? And so even though you're missing out on certain things, it's like, do I want to jeopardize the comfort of this relationship to seek and go out and get those certain things?
Right.
But those things could also be important.
Right.
Right. But like, the comfort in your relationship is also important.
Right.
So like, if you're a parent, like still being in the household with your kids and like still being able to like wake up and have breakfast with them and all of that, that's important. But then if you and your partner
and you and your friend, you and your partner still like each other and y'all still friends and you still have a good time with them,
and y'all connected to each other's families, and you know, when they had Thanksgiving, the family like, oh, where's, you know, whoever.
Right.
So it's like, yeah, you know, maybe, you know, you ain't doing oral sex and that's something that they really desire. That's something they really want. And, you know, because of society rules, or maybe just even because of how a person feels, it's like, yeah, if you go out there and get that from somebody else, I'm gonna feel as though you are compromising the relationship. And so now it's like, well, I can't just be honest with her and say, hey, I'm going to go let somebody suck my dick real quick because she going to want to leave. I don't want to leave because I like this dynamic that we have, but I'm still pining for and longing for that thing. Now, on the one hand, you can say, okay, you got to choose. Like, if you like the life you have and you want to keep that, then you're going to have to make a sacrifice and just decide that, like,
that's just not something I'm going to have for the rest. I've had it.
However, I do understand being in a situation where, just like using your analogy of the dieting and exercising, right? Being in a situation where I've been eating salmon and rice for years, and now I'm at the mall and I smell Cinnabon, and I know that that's going to have a negative impact on my diet. I'm probably going to have a stomach ache after, but I've been wanting this for years and denying myself. So now the temptation is even stronger because it's not like somebody putting cinnamon bun in front of me and I just had one last week. Somebody putting cinnamon bun in front of you, you've been wanting it and haven't had it for a year. So, and again, not justifying it, but I'm just saying I can understand why they don't just be upfront and be real. To your earlier point about just be real with the person and say, this is what I'm missing in a relationship, blah, blah, blah. I can understand why people don't do that if you already feel like they're not going to be accepting of it. And I'm maybe making a choice because I want to keep the relationship, but I also have these needs and desires that I have been denying myself that are now starting to flare up.
Right.
And I know if I feed into it, I'm jeopardizing what I have at home, but I'm in a situation where I've been denying myself for such a long time that now it's like the want is starting to outweigh kind of like the rational thought of, hey, this could ruin everything.
And that's when you start thinking the irrational.
Right.
But no. Right. But then
and again, I'm not excusing it, but I'm just saying, like, I can totally understand.
We move into selfish.
Yeah.
We end up moving into selfish.
Yes.
And so, but that's what I think she meant was like, you have to choose me every day.
Yeah.
Because we do get selfish. We are human. And I think we get to the point of, especially when something's not going right in our relationship, it's like, well, I could be doing this or I could get this, and this person been trying to talk to me, and you got the nerve and the audacity. I remember when Kevin had said that he was at work And so Melissa came home and she was like, he was like, did you cook? And she was like, no, I was at work too. And he was like, well, such and such at work, I could have all, whatever. And he said he like they felt like he did a thing, right? Like turned his back, like I could be, and turned around. He said when she turned around, a shoe was at his face. Because how dare you? Like, who you think you are?
Right.
Right? And he was like, and that was the last time I ever.
Yeah.
Because you don't, like, you go into the space of I could have and in the irrational. But in all reality, no one's going to give you everything that you need. Yeah. Right? Mm-hmm. Or, sorry, no one's going to give you everything that you want. But sometimes if you take the reins, like take your hands off of the reins and allow the horse or the car or to do what it needs to do, like you're trying to correct something where if it already knows what it's supposed to do, allowing it to do that. Mm-hmm. Because like for me, I'm with my spirituality, God puts people in your life for a reason, right? And sometimes that season, if you take your hands off of trying to fix it and it steers itself out of your life, it's for a reason. Yeah. Right? And so we're so busy like, no, but I want it, but I have to have it. And you're trying to steer it back onto the road. And it's like, no. So like in my car, so I don't know why this popped up. In my car, I have lane assistance. Mm-hmm. And so you driving, and if I don't use my turn signal and I try to get over, that car is like, what are you doing? Mm-hmm. This is where this is what we're supposed to be doing. And here you are minding your business over here, and this ain't your business. Yeah. And so it forces me to use the blinker to say I'm making a conscious decision to do such and such.
It forces you to effectively communicate.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes. Mm-hmm. And so I feel like in our relationships, we'd be like, now I'm going over here. And so then when that person's like, well, what are you doing? Why are you doing that? What's going on? And then now you're trying to buck at the system instead of effectively communicating and being like, this is why I'm going over here. Okay, well, if that's the lane change that we need to make, let's commit to it. Right. And so when that thing buzzes, like, you're trying to get over here, are you committing to it? Put the signal on to say, yes, I'm committing to it. Stop trying to make a decision for everybody around you and not just committing to it. And committing to it means saying, I'm not happy. Yeah. I need this. Mm-hmm. I want this. Mm-hmm. Da 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 da. And I know this could jeopardize my relationship, but I'm committed to understanding that if I do this, like, you can't say I hurt you in a way of taking a decision from you. I've told you how I feel. This is what I'm going through. This is how, and maybe if you say, okay, well, until I can understand these feelings, you have to let people go. Yeah. It's the most responsible thing to do and the most unselfish. Like when you go and make a decision to fulfill a urge or need outside of your relationship, whatever that need is, you are effectively being selfish on both ends. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And it's just like, but then when someone says that, like, no, but I told you I needed such and such. No, you should have just left for the betterment of you. Yeah. And the whole situation. So I think we talk about, like, people should communicate, people should be honest, and everybody's like, I can only be honest to a certain level because I know you're going to do such and such. But you know that, and you still made a decision to do that, which means you consciously made a decision to hurt me. Because at that point, it's not like, you got to tell me, and I need to know that you've been roofied. That was not your intent.
I do think that it's hard. I think it's hard to be honest.
It's difficult.
Especially, like we on the subject of cheating, right? Mm-hmm. So it's hard to be honest before because looking at it from this mindset, from the mindset of the person that's trying not to cheat. Mm-hmm. Like, I want to be here, but I'm tempted, but I'm denying myself. Like, I'm trying to stay focused in this relationship. I'm not getting something out of the relationship. And I'm really making an effort to not feed into my temptation. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So I think it's hard for that person to have an honest conversation before something happens. Because I think for that person, in their mind, they probably feel like they don't need to have the honest conversation because they already made a decision that they're going to try to remain faithful. But then I guess they're not being honest with themselves in the fact that they're being tempted on a regular basis.
And that's the thing. If you are in a space where it would be with anything else, right? Your doctor has told you something, right? You would go back to your doctor and say, listen, this medication or something has to change because this is how it's affecting me. Mm-hmm. You will communicate your feelings, but that's not a relationship, right? If your kids are doing something that's hurting you, you would communicate your feelings because you like, I need this to stop. If you're in a relationship and you start to even have these feelings, it is your responsibility to be the one to tell that person. I just had not this conversation, but I had a conversation with my son's dad, because he hasn't been picking him up like he's supposed to. And my son, he hasn't picked him up in almost 2 months, and they were on the Xbox, and he saw that his dad logged in. So via Xbox, Jonathan was like, "Hey, can you pick me up?" And he was like, "Oh yeah, I'll pick you up." So when I walked through the door, he's like, "Oh, my dad's picking me up on Friday." Now it's been months since you picked him up. You and I have not even had a conversation in months. Outside of when we went on vacation, I let him FaceTime and stuff. So I said to him, I said, I have him. It's not my responsibility to call you to check in on you to see what you are doing when you are you. Right. You know what you're doing. Right. You know what you're going through. Right. It's your responsibility as being the person going through something
to let me know you're
going through something. Yeah. And I think that goes for everything, right? Like you're feeling temptation, and you can say all day, "I know I ain't gonna cheat on my such a significant other," but you also don't know how, like, the combination of things and how, because that would put you in that position, and then you go, "I'm not going to do that," but then you go, like, one thing, I'm never going to, your mind, I would never be out to dinner with that person, but now we're having a colleague's dinner, and a colleague like, "You gotta come, this, that, and the fourth." You may not even know that person going to be there. You show or that man's going to be there. You show up and you see that they're there. You're not going to just be like most people, because you don't want to be embarrassing. Or you don't want it to make it look like it's a thing and being like, "Hey, I'm going to just go ahead and go." Yeah. Right? Because I'm not going to make it look like it's a thing. I just want to control myself. So now you've gone into a situation that you said you would never be in. Right. Right? Mm-hmm. So now you're having a drink, and that person's like, "Hey, you want to welcome me to the bar?" And now he's like, "Well, I'm not a rude person, so I'm not going to be rude. So at least I could do, but I'm not going to let it go any further than that." Mm-hmm. So now you're at the bar, and now you guys are having this conversation. And you're like, we had a conversation. I feel like I've gone a little too far. Let me go home. So now those same scenarios happen. Well, I went the last time and nothing happened. So that's usually how I did this the last time and nothing happened. I did it. And then you get a little bit more comfortable with the last time. And then you go a little further, but I didn't do it the last time. And then this time it's like, I don't even know how I got here. I could tell you the last 5 weeks how you got here. Yeah. And all of the last time. Yeah. Exactly. Mm-hmm. And so to just say it up front of, these are the things that I'm starting to feel, and I don't know how to combat it. And if I need to get it out in the open so that there won't be an opportunity to be a last time. That's my thing. So there are myths, and I think the realities of it, the biggest reality that I've come from in this relationship is that being overly communicative has been the best thing.
I would agree with that. I think, I guess for me, sometimes there's a little anxiety about over communicating, right? Because this is just very specific to me, but somebody may relate. I'm already a talker, right? So there's this part of me that feels like maybe I'm talking too much. And then I have anxiety. So I'm a future, I will start discussing things or having a conversation with you about something that hasn't even happened yet. And I do sometimes feel like maybe as a partner, I could be a little much because I want to talk about how you feeling. I want to talk about, well, how could this affect us in the future? And here's 3 different hypothetical situations. How are we going to process it? And I think for somebody like my husband, who's not a talker, it's a lot on the conversation. Yeah. It's a lot on the information. But for me, I feel like
if I know all of the things, then it doesn't give me anxiety going through living the life. Right.
Or I want to not almost constantly be in communication, but I want to run all these things past you so that if I'm moving a certain way or if I'm doing something, you have the background of why. We talked about her and Kendra was going to record today, or we talked about this, or we talked about that, right? So you have all of the possibilities of what I could be doing,
right.
so that, not to say that I just want to run around here and do whatever, but like, if I'm ever doing something that seems a little off, where he might feel like, what's she doing? We've had so much conversation.
Right. I wonder if she went ahead and went to such, because I know we was going to do this today.
Exactly.
And then you send a text, hey, did you go to such? Are you at such? Oh, yeah, you know. Oh, because we talked about it. It just be...
In my mind, that's how I think it would go. But it doesn't always translate that way. I think for him, with a lot of the info dumping, he tries to pull out what's important and then forgets everything else. And so when I would hope that he would be like, oh, you know what, she did mention that 2 weeks ago, he doesn't. He'll be like, oh, I didn't know you were doing that. And I'm like, we talked about it 2 weeks ago. And, oh, well, in that conversation, the main point was this. So I didn't really hear anything else.
No, I'd be like,
I just kept the main point.
No, I can understand. I could see that a lot of men do that. But I was talking to my dad, he talks like he says he used to do that, but he's very much so. He's to the point now he knows so much about my mom that he can pretty much not have a conversation and know what she's doing. So if she's not home, she's going to be either at the thrift store. She has her routine. She has the things that she's usually doing. And I think you get into that when you get to the point where you've over communicated so much, so often, that you don't have to do it as much. Right? So you get to a point where it's like, well, for us, I know Saturday coming up, oh, do you got a cut? Nah. Well, I said, so you ain't heard from Mr. Hill? Like, we've gotten to this routine. Like, so you ain't heard from him this morning? Nah, but he might call me this afternoon. So I already know, like, Saturday morning, that's let me ask. Like, I don't make any plans. Let me ask, because this is usually what the thing is. Yeah. Or like Sundays, because some Sundays he do, sometimes some Sundays he doesn't. So I know when to ask the question. I know you working late Thursdays and Fridays, so I know, you know what I'm saying? So it just becomes a routine. I say a little bit later than usual, and I'm like, oh, so it's gonna rain. He probably want to get something to eat, And I say, like, you go to Tyson? Oh yeah, I did. How you kind of thing, because you just kind of.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. I think it can get hard.
But then also for you though.
Yeah, I was just
you don't have no routine, child.
I was just getting ready to say.
I'd be like, what you doing today? You're like, oh, girl, I went to the beach.
Yeah.
Random.
So that's exactly where I was going. It can get hard when you're not like a really routine type of person and you are real random. But again, I feel like, for me to overcorrect that is why I do over communicate. Yeah. Like, so example, like for me and you, we're chatting all throughout the week. So if I did go to the beach, it wouldn't be that random to you, because I would have said like, Thursday gonna be real nice. Honestly, I might go to the beach. Like, even though that was just the off the cuff thing, when Thursday come around and I'm like, girl, I'm at the beach, it doesn't seem that random because
like,
it's
so you really went.
Yeah.
Whereas I should have went.
In my relationship, when you're kind of only looking for those key points and throwing out the kind of like random things that I put in, then when I do one of those random things, it's like, how did you get there? Like,
I told you that.
But for him, it's like that. I didn't know I was supposed to take that seriously. So I think you were saying eventually you get to a point where you know. I think for us, that's an area where we struggle, because I think it's me.
Because he has more routine than you do.
Exactly. And I don't think I have ever gotten to a point where like he could say, this is her routine. This is what she's going to be doing. But I also say that I do try to, I'm not hiding anything. Right. Like I try to put it all out there, but I think it's so much information overload that it's like, and he have said this to me, you're going to do whatever you want to do. I don't know what to keep or what to throw away. Child. So.
And maybe if I make a new decision, let me call and see what he doing. I just call all day. Let me call him what he doing.
But you don't feel. I feel a little self-conscious about that. Of like, I don't want to get on your nerves.
I don't care. You're gonna hear from me. He called me yesterday. He was like, and he fully working. I was like, what you doing? He's like, working. I just came from the bathroom. I was like, oh, you ain't doing nothing. I said, let me tell you what just happened. So so I'm telling him, he's like, all right, I'll call you when I get it. Let me get them out of here. Something new happened. Let me call him.
Even though he still hasn't called you back from the first thing.
I still called him and was like, let me tell you this what just happened. He was like, oh, okay. I was like, all right, let me let you go. Because I know you're busy. And then 7 o'clock came, and I was like, he said he was maybe getting off at 7. I'm going to give him 7:05. And I started doing something else, and Josh was like, where my daddy? And I was like, let's call him. I called him. I was like, what you doing? He's like, on my way home. I was like, he told me he was gonna call me when you had free time. He's like, can I just talk to you? And he's like, what y'all doing? I was like, I don't know. He's like, so then we having a full conversation, and so he's like, I'm going here and give me something to eat, because he went to Charlie's, and I was like, all right, if you call me back and I'm asleep, I said, if you call me back and I don't answer, I'm asleep.
I have to maybe work on that a little bit, because I think there's also too the fear of rejection. I don't like, because I do like to talk, if I'm having that feeling like I need to call somebody and tell them about what just happened, I'll be honest, I'm not going to call my husband, because as soon as you act like you don't want to hear what I'm talking about, that bothers me.
And he's done that. Like, when I be like, especially if I call like girls and piss me off, and I'll call and he be like, well, you ain't give me what answer I want. Bye. You know what I'm saying? But then I'll talk to him later.
I don't even go there. Like, I'll go to my friends.
Yeah,
I'll go to my friends first, because and I may even start the conversation about, you ain't gonna really care about none of this, but I need to talk to somebody about it. You know what I mean? Yeah. I feel like if I called you and said that, it would be like, well, girl, what the fuck happened? Right. Even though you like, I don't care, but what's tea?
I like to gossip. I like to know.
And I feel like he don't. Oh. So I don't do that. I know he don't do that, but maybe that's an area where I can be a little bit more vulnerable and just be like, I'm just trying to like, but I just feel like as soon as the vibe check, it's like you give me that vibe like you don't care or you don't want to hear what I'm talking about, or like, oh, this some work drama, oh, bye, because I don't need that.
He don't necessarily give me, I know he don't be caring, because I be saying like, you don't even care what I'm talking about. He be like, I'm listening. I'm like, whatever, I just needed to get it off my chest anyway, what you doing? I'm working, Kendra. I'm like, you think about doing it with me? And then he be like, get off the phone. Like, I be so random. One day I called him. I was like, what your little black stuff doing down there? He cracking. I was like, he said, you're so random.
I also don't like, I just be having, maybe I'm telling myself a little bit, but like, I don't like any kind of like, I don't want to say pushback, but like any little subtle hint that I may get that like somebody's feeling uncomfortable around what I'm talking about or what I'm saying, that will cause me to shut down.
Child, and maybe it's just because I'm a goofball. And
I mean, like in like a personal relationship, like with friends, I could read the room and be like if I was talking about like, you know, something that happened with a kid, and like I'm seeing your face change a little bit, I'll just hurry up and end the conversation. But with him, it's just like I completely pull back. Like, all right, well, let me go. I'll talk to you later. Like, what I could change the subject. Like, but anyway, girl, that was that book. So whatever. You know what I mean? Like, it's like for some reason, like with my friends, I feel like there's still room to like engage, but maybe not about that specific thing that they're not interested in. But with him, I feel like when you give me little signs and indicators that you're not interested, I don't want to talk at all.
Yeah, I just be like, I just say something stupid. Yeah. And I be like, well, let me go since you're bored of me. And he's like, I didn't say that. I'm just, don't hurt my feelings. And then I hang up the phone. And then he'll call, because before he would never call me. And so now he'd be like, man, I wasn't doing that. What you doing? And I was like, well, you know.
maybe I mean, you know, that's probably an area that I just need to work on. But I do agree with you. Over communicating a lot of times is what can I guess put you in front of conflicts. Like if we're constantly talking, we're constantly communicating, we're constantly checking in with each other, then the conflict shouldn't be that big of a deal. Shouldn't be that big of an issue. Yeah. I mean, unless you just have somebody that wants to be confrontational with you.
Right. And then you can't, then those are things that you just can't avoid.
I think like moving to the other thing that we had in the docket about unspoken struggles. I think the biggest unspoken struggle that people don't talk about is like mental health, and not in the like cliche form of like mental health, but like in the everyday form of like how people are affected by stress. Like even like talking about like my own anxiety, you know, talking about just all those different factors. Like people deal with stuff, right? And I think that we just don't, when you think of going into a relationship with a person, you don't think of that person from the perspective of their flaws. You think of that person from the perspective of everything's on the up and up.
Yeah.
But it's like you have this perfect person, or you have this partner that you want to connect with. I just feel like we don't ever stop to consider, like, what does grief look like? Like, when that person loses somebody, what does that look like? When that person is extremely stressed, how does that take form? When that person is feeling fear, how does that take form? When that person is, like, their childhood issues and things are rearing back up, like you were saying, y'all have a baby, and now you're a mom, and now your partner seeing you being a mom, he never dealt with his issues with his mom. That was never an issue for y'all before, but right, now it is. How do you deal with that?
And I think it can be a very difficult thing. I think for me, and I'm just speaking for myself, I try to get to know people to the point that they know them better than they know themselves, especially in my relationships. And I do that because it helps me to, because sometimes I don't read. I think things are about me when it's not, and I'm very Leo, self-centered about that,
internalizing things.
And so then I'm just like, I know that this is not about me. Let's have I'm like, why all of a sudden, who you talk to? Oh man, I just got the phone with such and such, and I'd be like, what she asked you for, or what he say, or how he come off. You know what I'm saying? And then it's like, okay, so it's not about me. And it's the same thing on the other end. Like, I am a short fuse when I have to spend a lot of money unexpectedly. And so he's like, so the next day when I'm kind of calmed down, because especially if stuff gets thrown to me a lot at one time, I don't function well that way. And so I have when I say attitude, everybody around like, we ain't talking to you, we ain't saying nothing. And so, like, when everything went, like when the lights went out, I ain't had no car. Like, I was stressed to the max. And they called him, like, we ain't even eat. And I'm like, why y'all ain't eat? Y'all went to Walmart. And he was like, because she said you was gonna get us something to eat. I was like, how? What car I got? So I'm irritated. And so the next day I was like, I was so upset yesterday. He was like, why do you think I wasn't talking to you? I knew you were stressed out. I knew it was about the money. I knew it was because too many things happen at one time and you can't function that way. But being able to know that about your partner and being like, I'm not going to take this personal, but I know and then not even that, recognizing it about yourself and bringing it to your partner, like, I didn't do well. I was not a good person yesterday, and I know that because I'm stressed out. That money things, whatever. So the next time you do that, it's like, oh, it's because of such and such. That's why I think no matter how, like, what the situations are, if you first of all, knowing yourself and being okay with yourself allows you to you talk about things just organically, right? So, like, if you like, I know that I'm a bitch when I'm hungry, or I know when I'm spending a lot of money and I start seeing like automatic payments come out and I didn't think that was coming out, or I didn't think this was going to happen, or my check was a little short, or I'm paying a little bit more than this, or I didn't do this right, so now I have to pay extra and more than what I want to pay, and now I'm irritated, and I thought I was going to be doing all of this, and I'm not going to be able to do all of that, and now my plans have changed, and now I got an attitude. To being able to know that about myself, and I'm being like, I just paid a lot of money, and I wasn't expected to, so give me a minute to kind of deal with that. And so now I don't have to say that. He be like, Kendra, money gonna come back. Like, that's the first thing he'll be like, what you need? Like, what's going on? Why are you acting like what just happened that caused this shift? And because I call him all the time, and I'm like, Janae wrecked my car, so when we get off work and I'm pissy, and he's like, we'll get you another car. Like, that, you already know the patterns of the mental tornado that I have just formed in my head, and everything is spinning. And I'll say for him, he's like the eye of my storm. That's like, you know how when you look up, all of a sudden it's clear. He's that clear. Like, I see something's going on down there, and he's like, get it together, and then all of a sudden it dissipates. And because I more than him communicate that, I also do the opposite, and it's like I pick up on like it be random stuff. Oh, he's dieting, and so when he's dieting, he's a little bit more agitated, right? And I'm like, he needs some food. He needs some milk. And so then it be times when he's not dieting, but I know that he went and cut and he did this and he did that. And then when I see him, he like, well, what do y'all want to eat? Where's the snack? Because clearly you're having a problem. You need a nap? And then he be like, I mean, I'm tired. Like, you're a child. Go to bed. You know, kind of thing. So I think just paying attention to what happens organically allows you to see like, oh, well, this is what this is, and this is what that is. But like even with my friends, like I try to fully pay attention because we can mask it better with our friends than we can with our, spouses or people we're in a relationship with because they see you every day.
Yeah.
And sometimes that mask gonna slip because I don't got the 24 to just hide it from you. Yeah. But I think we don't talk about that. I think we don't talk about real mental health, like people that are struggling with mental health issues that have not gotten diagnosed or don't realize that the effects of the traumas are fully woven into more than they think it is. Like, oh, I just don't talk to my mom, or I just have that boundary. But that boundary, you not talking to her also affects how you deal with women.
Yep.
How you deal with, you being a parent because this person didn't parent. Like either you can overly parent, or if you had an over parenting, you know what I'm saying? So there's a direct correlation to your adolescent upbringings and then your first heartbreaks and those major milestone things in your life that wind itself fully in your veins, and you have to go in and do some recalibrating of yourself, and that ain't easy.
I think the main thing is like self-reflection, right? Because also things change, and I hear a lot of people say, which is probably like another myth or misconception. A lot of people say like you got to come to the relationship healed. I agree with that to a certain extent, but I also feel like nobody's never ever fully healed. And sometimes it takes being in a relationship with a person to even pull out issues that, like, if I was single and I was never with anybody, then this issue that I'm having might not have ever surfaced.
If you never had kids, right? How would you talk about it?
I'm with this partner, and because we've had kids, and because we've done these things, now these issues are surfacing, and now I'm having to heal in the relationship. So, like, it's all fine and good to come to the relationship quote unquote healed, but what happens when traumas that you didn't even realize were there resurface after the marriage? Okay, now I have to heal, but I'm also in a relationship with you, and I think that's something unspoken that people don't talk about. Now, how are you?
Your spouse could be your trigger,
right? But even more than that, if you're going through something and you're on your healing journey, but you're still a part of this partnership, how am I supposed to react? Like, I'll give you an example. You in a marriage, right? And this is just a hypothetical example, guys. Don't read into it. But you're in a marriage and you find out that, everything's going good, sex life is great, but then all of a sudden one of the partners shuts down sexually. And you find out that something has triggered them to remember a sexual assault from their past. And now y'all aren't having sex anymore. Now, what the other partner is like, well, I need that. Like, that was a core part of our marriage. And the other partner is like, I'm sorry, something brought this trauma up, and I'm having to heal from it now. I can't engage while I'm trying to heal. But you still, you know what I'm saying? It's like, I don't want to leave the relationship. I don't want you to leave. Like, and then I even feel like the other person might feel bad. Like, well, I'm not going to leave you while you're trying to heal, but at the same time, I'm not getting the need, man.
But then I think this what ends up happening, or what should happen, is then you recalibrate how you operate in that relationship to get that thing that need met there. Because the thing is, what if it wasn't a trauma, and let's say a emotional trauma, what if it was an actual trauma?
Right.
So then you still have
or like
to,
this happens too sometimes, like when women have babies, right? It's like
they do not be
medically we had something going on. I have to wait longer than the 6 weeks or whatever the case may be.
life be happening.
And she may even feel after the 6 weeks, I still don't feel like myself, right?
And you go through that. And so being able to say, okay, well, what else gives us those things? That's when you have to now date this new person.
But even more so than dating, right? The person that's going through whatever healing process they're going through, they also need support in their healing.
Right, that's what I mean. So,
but which is hard too, because it's like now I'm having to support you in your healing, but I'm also kind of coming from a place where I'm not getting everything I need, but then still expected to like show up for you.
So one of the things my dad said, and I always hold this very dear to me, that when I was in a relationship with my oldest child's father, and he said, because he was like, well, he was like, I don't use I in my relationship. He said, because I know that she's going to do everything she needs. She's going to do everything that I need for me. She's going to handle it. She, like my mom, and it's like he was just talking about service level stuff, but he's like, she doesn't, like, our relationship isn't about, because he was like, well, what about when you want to do this, or when you do, he's like, I can do those things, but I'm making sure my she's good. As long as she's good, I know I'm good, because she's taking care of all the things that I would want. If I needed socks, or if I needed this, or if I wanted to do this, she's already made it easy for those things to happen. And so when you're in a relationship, and this is just my opinion, when you're in a relationship and your partner is struggling, you take the I out of it and say, we're struggling.
That's so true.
And we need to get through this. And however because what I'm lacking isn't as monumental as if what you're going through, so now we're going through it.
Yeah.
And whatever we need to do to get you back to the place that you need to be is what's important. And so what my lacking is in my mind, how I look at it, especially if it wasn't anything traumatic where it happened in the relationship, it's like, all right, my needs are, we'll get to that.
Right.
But let's work through getting you back to you.
Right.
Because now there's been a change in you and your partnership. And that my thing is not even just taking out the relationship. If y'all friends, that's what you're going to do for your friend.
That's so true.
If you're a friend like, I ain't got it, I can't hang out, okay, cool. I'm going to recalibrate how our friendship is. So if that means, all right, well, come over to the house, I'm going to cook. Or I'm going to come to your house and we just going to watch a movie and chill because I know you can't go out right now, or you can't do such and such. You recalibrate the friendship, and that's the same thing that you do in the marriage. It's like, okay, yeah, I need these things, but that's because I'm your husband. But as your friend, I'm showing up for you every day, all day, and no matter what's going on, and I ain't worried about it. And that's how I feel like that's how it should be. But everybody kind of takes this as, we in a relationship, so I got to get my relationship needs met. That's your homeboy. That's your friend. Take care of your friend first.
That's so true. That's so true.
But then people be like, oh, well, that's my... But so then I'd be like, well, were y'all ever friends, or were y'all dating to just be in a relationship? Where's the foundation? Because if the relationship doesn't work, I'm still going to show up for my friend. If something happens, God forbid today, we're still friends. So when we were going through our struggles, when I went through postpartum and stuff, and he was like, well, I got to go get this done. Do you need a ride? Because it's still my friend. I don't want you to be out here not having, oh, you got your wisdom teeth pulled? Okay, what do you need? All right, I won't bring Joshua over so that, you know what I'm saying? Or I'll do this, or I'll do whatever I need to do, because we still cool. We still friends. The relationship is rocky or whatever, but I'm going to still make sure that you're good. People be like, oh, the relationship rocky, I'm going to do what The biggest thing is friends do not hurt you on purpose. And when people cheat and people do that, that can't be your friend.
That's so true.
That can't be your friend, so...
I love what you said about how, like, we're struggling.
Yeah.
You know, not just you in something, or I'm in something, but we're in something.
We are in something.
I think that is super helpful when it comes to, like, figuring out how to navigate these issues within relationships. Like, if you came at it with the perspective of, we're having financial issues, not there,
right? He or she is having, right?
Or if you came from the perspective of, like, we're at a place in our relationship where temptation is showing up, not you being tempted. That completely changes, like,
the landscape of how you look at it.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, guys, therapy is over. Hope you enjoyed your sesh.
Listen, we need to start getting paid.
Because we drop what? Gems.
Period.
Okay. Shoot. Well, this was another amazing episode. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you enjoyed the deep depth. Like, we ain't got deep on y'all in a minute.
It's been a minute.
It has been a minute, so I hope you enjoyed. Now, disclaimer. We are not licensed therapists.
Oh, Lord.
So, don't take our word for Bible. We just been in experiences.
Guys, make sure you like, subscribe, hit the notification button, tell a friend and tell a friend.
Drop down in them comments. And with that being said,
we'll drink to that.